Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, hi, my name's Amanda. I'm 32 and I just had my first baby, a little boy, April 16th, 2019. And today I wanted to share with you 25 things that I wish that I knew before having a C-section, because I did have my first C-section. It was my first baby, and before going into it, I had done some research, but everybody's experience is a little bit different. So I just wanted to share mine, and maybe it'll be helpful for any of you who have breech babies or know that you're having a C-section, or even if you are planning on delivering vaginally and something happens and you have to have a C-section. I mean, that is very likely, and I actually just read a statistic that like 1 in 3 women have C-sections. So they're a lot more common than I thought that they were. And if I had known what I know now, I think that my experience would have been a little bit different, and I would have just been a little bit more prepared. If I have to have another one, which I probably will, but it depends, I will be going into it with a lot more knowledge than I did for the first time. Okay, so let's just get right into it, because this video I'm sure is going to be pretty long because there's 25 things here. So the first thing is that it is major surgery, and people tell you that all the time, and I didn't really take it as seriously as I probably thought. It might be your first major surgery too, like it was for me. So just knowing that could help you prepare mentally and understand that there's a lot of healing that's going to happen. The recovery time is a bit longer than if you deliver vaginally. So just know that going in, and kind of prepare yourself mentally for it. Accept help where you can, and definitely make sure that when you go home, you have somebody, which could be, you know, family, friends, your significant other, husband, whatever it is, to help you out, because you are probably not going to be able to lift a lot of stuff or do the things that you used to do right away. So the next one is that you can't eat or drink anything for 6 to 8 hours before you have your C-section. And I actually didn't know this. I'll link a video to my birth story. I knew that I was gonna have a C-section, but it wasn't scheduled. It was kind of like, you know, maybe it'll happen whenever it's gonna happen, up until 38 weeks. So I went in for an ultrasound, and they told me that day that I was having a C-section. So, I had eaten breakfast actually. They couldn't do the procedure until 6 hours later, because you can't have anything to eat or drink because you're gonna have anesthesia. So just know that. You probably do if you're having a scheduled C-section, but just be aware if you go in and they're like, okay, today's the day, you gotta have the baby, we're gonna have a C-section. You can't have anything to eat or drink, not even water. The third thing is that your husband probably will not be able to go with you to get the anesthesia. So when I went in, I got a spinal block, and my husband did not come into the room with me for that. So just be aware of that. You guys are gonna separate at some point. He's probably gonna be getting into scrubs for when they actually do the C-section, but you're gonna probably go by yourself and get the spinal block or whatever you're getting to numb everything. The next one is that if you get a spinal block, it doesn't hurt. For me, at least, it didn't hurt. I was really nervous about this. I know that they say that it numbs you completely, you know, from the waist down, and I thought that because of that, it was going to be really painful, and I don't like needles and everything like that. So it actually didn't. The needle was very tiny. My anesthesiologist told me that. He said, you're not going to feel any pain, and it just might be like, you know, like a prick or whatever, but nothing major. And that was my experience. It wasn't bad whatsoever. You just kind of like hunch over and do like a cat, like bend your back up, and they do it, and I was done in like a second, and I felt it, but it was nothing major at all. So if you don't like needles, or you're thinking that it's gonna hurt, for me, it definitely didn't. The next one is kind of about the anesthesia experience, which I know is unique to every person, but I got really, really freaked out when I first got the spinal and everything started to go numb. My brain kind of went crazy and I was trying to wiggle my toes and move my legs and stuff, and I couldn't. So it kind of just set my mind into this like crazy panic because I couldn't move anything, and like my brain was saying, move your feet, wiggle your toes, and it couldn't. So I just kind of had a little bit of an anxiety. It wasn't an anxiety attack, but it was just, I was very, very anxious and concerned when this was happening. And I would just say to relax yourself, tell yourself mentally that you're not going to feel anything. You should feel numb and it'll help you a lot. I actually, with my anesthesia, it rose up into my chest and into like my arms. And so I was getting pins and needles and I couldn't feel anything. And I had a lot of, like, I thought that I wasn't breathing because I couldn't feel anything up in my chest. So I was freaking out, and I wish that I knew that this was a possibility, that it could happen, and that I could have just mentally prepared and just said like, okay, listen, this is happening down below. It might happen up in your chest, but it's totally fine. You're breathing. Nothing is going to happen to you. You're being monitored by a bunch of different people, and you should be fine. And the anesthesia will wear off and you'll gain feeling back. Probably for me, it happened. I felt sensation like up in my chest area that wore off, and then slowly the rest of it wore off. So no big deal, but I was kind of freaking out when I thought that I couldn't breathe, and because I couldn't like feel, I got pins and needles up here, and it was a very, very weird experience for me, and I never felt it before. The next thing is that you won't actually see the C-section being done. So they're gonna put this sheet up to block everything. I've heard that in some hospitals they do have a sheet that there's like a little window so you could see it if you wanted to, but for me they wouldn't let you see it whatsoever. So also my husband had to stay behind the sheet with me, and he could not watch the procedure. They have a policy at the hospital I delivered at where they don't allow anybody to watch, because apparently people were, like the husbands or whatever, were watching and fainting, passing out on the floor because of the amount of blood. So to keep that from happening, they tell the husbands or whoever is with you to go behind the sheet. So mine just stayed next to me, and he held my hand for the whole time. So just be aware that that possibly could happen for you. Also, I didn't know that the C-section is really, really quick. It's a very, very fast surgery. Mine only took about 20 to 25 minutes. It's usually anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. So you're in there, you get your spinal, you get your anesthesia, they do the procedure, and you're done like that. It was very, very quick, and you're awake for the whole thing. So that's another thing. I'm not sure. I don't know if people can actually get fully put under. I don't think so, but I think that's a good thing. You want to be aware of what's going on down there. The next one, number 8, is that you're not actually going to feel any pain during the surgery. So because you got the spinal or whatever, you might feel some pressure or some tugging, which I did in the beginning. But after that, you're completely numb and you don't feel a thing. So that was great. I was kind of freaked out about this. I had a fear that something would happen and I would start feeling what was going on, but they kept on asking me, can you feel this? Can you feel this? And, you know, I'm not sure what they were doing down there, but they kept on checking to make sure that I was numb and could not feel a thing. So that might be your experience too. The 9th thing, which I was actually surprised by for my experience, was that I did not get to do skin to skin immediately when the baby came out. I don't know if this was something that is just procedural for my hospital or what, but they took the baby and my husband was able to take pictures. He could not take any videos once the baby came out, just pictures with his phone. And then he showed them to me, but I did not hold the baby. So what happened was they took the baby, they cleaned him off and did whatever they need to do. My husband left and I was still in the operating room and getting sewn up and everything like that. And then I didn't actually get to do skin to skin until I was in the recovery room and everything was cleaned up and I guess sterilized and the baby was ready to be given to me. And my husband actually held him first and while I was waiting. So that might be your experience. You might get to hold your baby right away. I don't know. It just depends on where you deliver and what the policies are. So number 10 is that once the surgery is over, for me, because of all the drugs and everything, I was very, very out of it. Like I knew what was going on, but I felt extremely hazy and I kept on saying like, I feel drunk and I don't want to be feeling this way. So that's how I would describe it to you, is if you ever got drunk and you just like, things are happening around you and you know, you want to just focus, you want to be present, you want to just like have a clear mind. I didn't feel that way at first. It took until the next day for me to like completely feel 100%. And it's just because there were so many like pain medications and the anesthesia and all of that to keep the pain at bay that I just felt a little bit hazy and a little bit out of it. So that might happen for you, just as an FYI. Number 11 is that because this is major surgery, you're gonna have to spend more time in the hospital. So I was there for 3 days. I delivered on a Tuesday at 5 p.m. and I went home on a Friday at around noon. So most of this time you're probably gonna be in bed because you know you just had huge surgery and you really just can't move around. So just make sure that you have somebody there with you, whether it's your husband or, you know, a friend, family, whatever it is, to help you out, because I literally couldn't really get up out of bed. So my husband changed all of our baby's diapers and he learned how to swaddle. He became like a swaddle master by the end of our stay there because I just couldn't get out of bed to do these things. So just be aware of that and make sure that you have somebody there. Obviously, there are tons of nurses and people checking on you to help you out, but it was just better, especially, you know, to not have to call the nurse every 5 minutes if the baby was crying or needed to feed or needed to change or whatever it was. My husband just got up and did all of that, which was a really big help for me. So number 12 is that they are going to make you, or they're going to suggest that you walk around the day after you have your surgery to loosen your muscles up, get them warm, and it's going to hurt. Like the first time that I stood up to walk, it was painful. I mean, there's incision pain. Your organs were literally like taken out of your body and put back in. So there's going to be a lot of pain. I guess every person's different. I would say my pain was around like a 5. It wasn't excruciating, and I definitely was able to get out of bed and walk the first time, and then it gets easier every single day and it gets less painful every single day. But they do tell you to get up and walk, and it'll actually help your muscles heal. The more you walk, the quicker you're gonna heal, but definitely don't overdo it. I think it was on maybe the second or third day, like the Wednesday or the Thursday, I got up and I wanted to walk around just in my room, and I was just standing over the little like crib thing that they put the baby in, and I started getting almost extremely lightheaded and I almost passed out. So just try not to overdo it if you're gonna get up and stand up and walk around and stuff, because just remember that you had a very big surgery and you need to rest and mend properly. But it's good to get up and just like walk the hall. They said 3 times each day, just like a really quick walk. So just do what you can, and obviously ask your doctor and the nurses what's best and what they would recommend. Another thing, number 13. So if it's your first surgery or if it's your first C-section, looking down at your incision for the first time might be really scary. And I was really freaked out when I looked at my incision for the first time. And I had surgical glue to hold my incision in place, and it was also my first baby, so I wasn't sure what to expect in terms of what my stomach would look like. But when I looked in the mirror, I was a little bit horrified. I mean, it was I can't really explain what it looked like. It was like a little bit, it's like bloody down there a little, or like dried blood in some areas, and then it's very swollen, and there was like so above the incision there's your belly that you just you gave birth, so it's not going to be flat stomach, and then below the incision there was a lot of swelling for me as well, so it looked a little bit freaky, and I just wanted to warn you to prepare yourself ahead of time. It's not going to be pretty. It wasn't as bad. Like, I didn't have staples, so I think that might be a little bit more scary to look at. I don't know. The glue was okay for me, but I was still a little like, oh my gosh, wow. Like, now I understand this is major surgery, and I'm looking at it right now. But you're fine. You're a warrior. You're going to get through it. And your doctor, I'm sure, did an amazing job. And your stitches and everything, it's going to go away. It's going to look okay. And you'll be okay. So number 14 is that after having the surgery, it's going to hurt to cough, to sneeze, and to laugh. At least it did for me. And I like to laugh, and my husband is really funny and makes a lot of jokes and stuff. And every time I would try to laugh, I would just be in pain but need to laugh at the same time. So just be aware of that. It'll probably go away after about a week, and you'll be able to cough and sneeze and laugh and everything, but it's going to be painful. So just be aware. Number 15 is that you could be really gassy after having a C-section. And I heard that it's pretty common. I didn't have a terrible amount of gas. I know that it can be painful for some people, but your nurse or doctor will probably give you some anti-gas medication to help with it, and also a stool softener just to help when you go to the bathroom. So be aware of that, and if you are gassy, who really cares? Do it in front of the nurse, do it in front of your husband. It doesn't matter. You just literally gave birth to a human being, and having gas is the last thing that you should be worried about or self-conscious about. So number 16 is kind of going along with the gas and the stool softener, is that you will get a catheter after you're numb and after you've had your spinal. So obviously after the surgery, you're not going to be able to get up and move around and go to the bathroom. So you're going to get a catheter, and they'll probably take it out the next day, or maybe it's 2 days after you've had your surgery. And I've never had a catheter before this, so this was my first experience with it. And obviously I didn't feel them putting it in because I was numb down there. But when they took it out, it was a little bit painful, not a lot. Right now I can't really even remember, but I think there was just it was a little bit uncomfortable to take out. But what was even more uncomfortable was when I went to the bathroom for the first time, just to pee. And they basically, it felt like I was trying to pee, but stopping myself from peeing at the same time. So it's a weird thing to try to describe, but just know that it's gonna feel a little bit strange, and you might feel a little pain, not physical pain, but just it's tight, and you have to get those muscles moving again. So it's not gonna feel normal to pee or to go number two probably for a couple of weeks. It's not, I would just say it's uncomfortable, not painful. You might have a different experience, but that was me. And after about 2 weeks, it felt normal to go to the bathroom. And the stool softener, definitely make sure that you take it. It really helped for me. I had no problem whatsoever. And they do try to ask you to like go to the bathroom the day after, I think it was. So that is the catheter situation. It's not terrible. So number 17 is they are probably gonna give you an abdominal binder. So it's just basically like this pad thing. What would you call it? It's like this Velcro thing that you put around it's like starts at your belly button, and then you just like, it goes behind you, and it's like a Velcro, and it goes over your stomach to just hold everything in place and give you more like stability and support when you're trying to get up and move and go to the bathroom and walk around and things like that. So I really thought that this was great while I was in the hospital. It did give me support, and I felt like I could get up out of the bed a lot easier because, you know, it's hard. You're laying down and you have to use all of those muscles to lift yourself up and to get out of bed. So I would recommend using them. I think it helped me. It strengthened those muscles down there and gave me a lot of support, but they also allowed me to take it home. And when I got home, I found that it was more annoying to have on than I did when I was in the hospital. And I also felt like it was kind of hurting my incision, just because when I was in the hospital, it's on, you're laying down in the bed for most of the day. And then once you're at home, you're gonna feel a lot better. You're gonna wanna get up and move around and try to get back to a normal routine, and to have it on was just annoying for me, so I stopped using it when I got home. Okay, number 18. So in terms of pain, each day gets better and better as you go along. And for me, they gave me ibuprofen, and they also gave me another bigger dose of pain medication. And I took the ibuprofens almost every day, once a day for about 2 weeks. But the more strong medication that they gave me, I only took, I think, the first 4 days once a day while I was at home, because the pain was not terrible. But just know that it does get better, and the pain meds really help. So I would suggest using them if you want to, if they don't give you any side effects. Mine didn't give me any like weird side effects, so I was happy to use them. It didn't like make me drowsy or my stomach upset or anything like that. But in terms of healing, I kind of felt like I healed first on the outside and then on the inside. So when I was in the hospital, I felt a lot of the pain around the incision itself. And when I got home and the weeks went by, I started, around week maybe 2, I started feeling more soreness, like internally, if that makes sense. So just be aware that your pain, some people might have a lot, some people might not. I guess it also depends on like how many C-sections you've had. Your first is probably going to be a lot different than a second or a third. But I would just say that use the pain meds as you need them, and just know that you're going to feel better every single day. And don't hesitate to like get up and take a brief walk or something, because the more that you move around and get those muscles and the blood flowing and the momentum of everything, the faster you're going to heal. Okay, number 19 is that you're probably going to feel some numbness and swelling around the incision site and in your lower abdomen for probably like 4 or 5 weeks. So I'm 7 weeks postpartum right now, and I have zero pain whatsoever, and I'm pretty sure that the swelling has gone down. So just be aware that it's going to take some time as your incision heals. I noticed that it was like turning yellow around the incision site, so that just means that it's healing and you're probably good to go. But just keep an eye on your incision, and if anything looks weird, like if it's not healing properly, or it's, you know, it's opening, or you're bleeding, or there's like weird like pus or something coming out of it, make sure that you call your doctor right away and just keep an eye on it. But it's normal to feel numbness, and I still actually, at 7 weeks, right above the incision, my skin just feels numb there, and I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure if that'll ever wear off, but my doctor said that it's normal, and as long as you're not in pain or uncomfortable, I think that's okay. All right, getting down to the last few. So number 20, I got surgical glue to close up my incision. So it actually looked really nice. It's clear glue, so you can literally see, and it just like comes off as you shower. Like, you're just supposed to pat around the incision. You're not supposed to scrub or anything while you're in the shower. Surgical glue should come off, but I didn't know this. I got this crazy rash, or I guess they looked like hives around my incision site. So when I went to my doctor's appointment, my postpartum appointment, I think it was just a week after, I told my doctor about it, and she was like, she looked at it and she's like, oh, you're probably allergic to the surgical glue. So I basically had all of these like raised little bumps and dots above and below my incision site. So she didn't actually tell me what to do she just said like, keep an eye on it and whatever. But, you know, since you might be breastfeeding or something, just be careful if you take any sort of Benadryl or medication if something happens and you have hives or whatever. I just got witch hazel and I put it all over where like the hives were, and within 3 days it was gone. So just be aware of that. It might not happen to you at all, but I didn't know about this, and so next time if I have a C-section and I get the glue, I'm gonna ask them to give me something so that I don't have that same reaction, or maybe I'll have a different way of closing it up. Okay. So number 21 is that even though you had a C-section, you are going to bleed vaginally. While I was in the hospital for the first couple days, it was pretty heavy, and I had, you know, the mesh underwear and the huge pad that they give you and everything, and they would change it multiple times a day. But once I got out of the hospital, for the first maybe like 3 days, I only needed like a regular pad. And then after that, I needed just a panty liner. So the bleeding was not so bad for me. And by 4 weeks postpartum, the bleeding had completely stopped. So number 22 is that it did take the full 6 weeks for me to completely recover. Like I said, I'm 7 weeks postpartum, and at the 6-week point was when I totally felt good. I felt like, I didn't feel back to myself, but like in terms of recovery and everything, there was no pain, no swelling, the incision had healed, everything looks good down there. And I was cleared to work out and drive and everything like that. So just give yourself time and be patient with your recovery. It is a big surgery, especially if it's your first. And the worst thing you could do is try to overdo it and have something happen. If you try to work out too early, you don't want to take steps forward and then have to regress if something happened to you. So just be patient and you'll be fine. Number 23 is that you won't be able to drive right away. So my OB told me that the recommended time before you start to drive is 6 weeks, but if you're feeling better, then you should only drive if you feel comfortable enough to be able to slam on the brakes if you need to. So because you use a lot of your muscles and your abdominal muscles and everything when you're driving to take your foot on and off the gas and to brake and stuff, you want to make sure that that's completely healed and that you've got full control so that you don't get in an accident if you know you're in pain or you can't step on the brake if you needed to. I actually started driving 3 weeks after my C-section, and I was totally fine. I didn't go anywhere far. I would, drive 10 minutes to Target or drive 3 minutes to Starbucks. So I kind of took it slow, and then, at about 4 weeks, I was able to drive a little further and just do what feels right for your body and make sure that you're staying safe. Number 24, so we're almost done, is make sure that you buy high-waisted underwear before you have your C-section. And I know if it could be an emergency C-section, you can't do this, but I did this. I did some research before I had mine because I knew that I was going to. And I just went on Amazon and I bought these high-waisted underwear so that it doesn't rub on your incision. And those were a lifesaver. I know that it's annoying and they kind of feel like granny panties and whatever, but I bought these really nice lace on them and they were just really soft and really comfortable. And I literally wore them until I stopped wearing like a panty liner or a pad. And it's just good to have while you're recovering. And same with like whatever pants you wear, or you could wear dresses or something, that would be even better. But if you're wearing anything on like your legs, if you're wearing pants, I would recommend having high-waisted stuff so that nothing is rubbing against your incision or irritating it. Okay, number 25. So some people might tell you, or you might hear, that C-sections aren't real births. That's complete BS, and you should never ever feel like because you had a C-section, you had an inferior birth. Like, you went through major surgery, you got cut open to give your baby life. It could be that you had a C-section and it was the only way that your baby could survive. So I just think that all women, regardless of how you deliver, you are warriors and you're amazing, and it's just incredible that there's the technology to be able to deliver in multiple ways to ensure the safety of your baby. So I also think that along with this, that if you're having some, blues, or you're feeling a little bit sad that you didn't have a vaginal birth, I would just say, because I kind of felt like that when I found out that I was gonna have a C-section. I kind of felt like I missed out on the experience and whatnot, but I think that's okay. And I would just say, give yourself grace and allow yourself to have these emotions if you are having them, and just be kind to yourself. I mean, you're an amazing woman for giving birth to your child, and if it's a C-section, fine. I'm such a planner, and it kind of gave me peace of mind to know that I was going to have a C-section instead of like being in limbo and maybe I'll have one, maybe I won't, and then having the added like pressure to make sure that I knew everything about having a vaginal delivery. So instead, I just made sure that I knew a lot about having a C-section. But that's it. That's number 25, and I'm so thankful if you made it with me to the end of this video. I have seen multiple videos like this, and I watched tons of them on YouTube, and just like Googling about C-sections before I had one. So I hope that you found this helpful and useful, and I would just say, like, I had a very good C-section experience, and if I have to have another one, I really won't mind it. It ensured the safety of my baby. I had a breech baby, and he wouldn't have been able to be delivered vaginally. And I know that for the next one, some hospitals don't even allow you to do a VBAC. So going through it the first time, I would say it was a good experience. It was major surgery. It did take a long time to recover, but I have to say that those first 6 weeks after you give birth, especially if it's your first kid, and maybe even if you have other kids, like they go by so fast. So before you know it, you're gonna be up on your feet doing what you used to do, and you're gonna be great. So thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like button if this video helped you, and also let me know how your C-section experience was. I know every woman is different. Some could have like traumatic experiences, others could be a breeze. I'd love to know how yours was. And please subscribe if you would like to follow me through my journey and see my little baby grow and see how I'm dealing with motherhood and everything. All right, thanks so much. Talk to you later. Bye.